In this video, I'm going to show you one of my favorite and most used techniques for taking landscape photography. That is stitching together a panorama. This technique works best with a normal to short telephoto lens. Using a tripod will give you the best results, but it can be done quite easily handheld. Keeping the camera as level as possible, take photos about 15 to 25 degrees apart. Rotate your body, keeping the camera pointing to the same level on the horizon. I usually do a total of about 100 to 180 degrees of turning, but this technique will work for a full 360 degrees. Here's what the images look like side by side. Now let's take them into Affinity Photo and stitch them together. Start by going to File and New Panorama. Click Add and select your images. Give it a second to load, and when it does, click Stitch Panorama. Now this part can take a few minutes. On my computer, I've sped it up here because it took about a full 60 seconds. Now it shows a rough example of what it should look like when it's done. Click OK, and again this takes a few minutes. It shows you a crudely stitched together version, but when it's done, it should look nice and smooth. You can see where I didn't quite keep it level at the end there, the transparent edges are showing. I'm going to click Crop and then Crop to Opaque. That will maximize the usable pixel area for this panorama. If I'd kept it more level, I would have had more room to work with. After cropping, that looks quite nice. Now let's go ahead and edit this like we would any other infrared landscape. I'm going to make the foliage a nice orange color, maybe a little more yellow, and then turn the sky blue to turquoise, a little more blue, maybe a little more turquoise. Nope, I kind of like the deep blue. That looks okay. I want to make some gradient color change in the sky, so I'm going to add another HSL layer, change the hue of the sky to reddish color, and then put a mask on that layer. Use the gradient tool to just paint the top of the sky. Turn the opacity down to make that blend a little better. Something like that. Next, I'm going to add a gradient map. I'm going to use some pastel hues. I think a desaturated blue for the shadows, something kind of dark. Bring those midtones down a bit to cover more of the foreground there. Going to make that a pastel pink color. And the highlights are going to be pretty much white. Set that to overlay. Make those midtones a little darker. A little more saturation in the highlights. Turn the opacity down. Needs to have a little more contrast and brightness, I think. With that done, I'm going to try to get the gradient in the sky to blend in a little bit better. I'm going to erase the part over the cloud so it's not so obvious where it should be white but more deep in the sky. So I'm just going to erase that part of the gradient by painting it black. Actually, I think I'm going to go over it with gray so it has a little bit of the effect showing through to blend better. Finally, I'm going to experiment a bit here by cropping it in. It's a nice wide image, but maybe I should put the right third sort of on top of that wall for a better composition. This puts the big cloud at the top left to lead the eye into the image, and you've got the wall in the bottom right. It looks pretty good like that, but it also looks good uncropped too, so either way. Having stitched all those images together gives you a lot of detail and room to experiment with. I think I'm just going to leave it like that for now.